drama. And where is this 3232 Instagram post gonna go? To the big, huge reveal for me with Mel Gibson. What? Mel Gibson? What relation could I possibly have with Mel Gibson? He's what is going to wrap everything up. So, as I am celebrating my 3232 post on Instagram with the Apocalypto reveal of what has been transpiring just in the last, since Friday the 13th. And all the pieces have been coming together, revolving around the sudden death of our preschool teacher named Margie, who died just down the street from me, and I didn't even know it. But since then, I've actually been I had the honor of leading the honoring on our Truchas community. And the spirit that it's brought out in this community, because part of how I wield my magic is through the stories that want to come through. I can see in unusual moments. So it's anything that sparkles, anything that's not in like a standard day-to-day thing. So when you have somebody that dies just down the street, and I have stories connected to that, and I am the one that is also spearheading the honoring on social media. And so there's a platform of what is actually happening in physical with the stories that are coming into my mind, and then marrying them, sparking life, birthing them into this techno age of AI and how it's helping us to evolve. If you're choosing to evolve, it's the fastest way to your higher self, because pure energies can come through. And it's a wonderful way to reprogram yourself out of anything, really. So Margie was our preschool teacher. And when I first got here, I don't necessarily know that she liked me. You know, I'm kind of out there, and if you don't know me, then it might be safe to keep a little distance. Anyways, even though they just lived across the street at the mission church. Well, I had the great opportunity last Good Friday to give her and Danny and her grandson a ride back to Truchas from the Chimayo Sanctuario celebration. And since that moment, we have been, there's been a really loving energy coming that has been moving through us. And before I actually decided I was going to be driving down to that celebration, I thought I would, walk down there and maybe get a ride back. And I had made this sign. You know what? I don't know if we'll see which way you can see it. Thinking that there might be somebody from Truchas that I could get a ride back from. And then I got the idea, I'll just park on the main road and then walk all the way down. Anyways, so that was special for me because I could tell the relationship between me and Margie shifted. And then on August 17th, so this is the thing. I think if you flirt with bones, you're going to get, because to me, bones are like a telephone to the spirit world. Whatever bones they are, there's that solidness that once held a spirit. And so because I have such a huge bone collection, on August 17th, I was invited to share a absinthe toast with my friend Trish and Leonardo to do a little celebration of naturalization. And they have the Ghost Pony Gallery. So I was excited to sample absinthe again because the first time was in that it was right before I experienced the metaphysical undercurrent of Rome, when I just totally threw caution to the wind on one Friday night and said, take me to the Colosseum. And it took me back ways and magical ways, and I literally had to just surrender. And I had never had an experience like that before. And at the end of that trail was Federico Fellini and the movie Roma that was playing right after the whole celebratory being guided safely there and then back to the hotel. So the idea of being able to sample absinthe again kind of felt, very Bram Stoker's Dracula and Moulin Rouge, The Green Fairy, something that would, potentially expand my senses even more. So while I was walking over there, Danny from across the street, who is Margie's husband. And I don't know him very well. I had maybe seen him twice, 3 times maybe. So when I was walking over to the Ghost Pony Gallery, he stopped his truck. We were in the road. And he said, I have something I think you might want. And I'm thinking, okay, just go along with it. I think it's Danny, but I'm not quite sure. Just let the story unfold. And so he says, here, if you want this, it's yours. And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, thank you. And he opens it up for a second. And it's dark, so I can't really quite see. It's not really, it's later afternoon. So I couldn't quite see what was in it, but I could tell it probably belonged to a woman because I was getting a kind of fragrance. And so I said, thank you so much. And I think he was repaying me for that Good Friday, giving them a lift back. So there was a kind of a token exchange, which was so thoughtful. Even though it meant so much to me, I was so happy to do it. And so I waited to open the suitcase until after I got home that night, after I had experienced the absinthe. And when I did, it was a very intimate experience because I realized it was the treasure chest of a woman who had just died. And she probably didn't have very much money. It was a lot of costume jewelry. But these were her keepsakes. These were her treasures. And they were even, photos of children and small children and some rosaries, just things that meant a lot to her. And so probably a week later, I saw Margie, and I said, did that suitcase belong to a woman who had just died? And she said, yes, it did. And so I was like, wow. So that just happened in August. To honor Margie with the connection of the suitcase and the Jesus connection that sort of enveloped around it. Because the first year that I was here, I made a life-size cross, pink cross, and I had an entire pilgrimage down and back, almost back. I collapsed. I thought I might have collapsed on barbed wire fence, but it was a very dramatic story. But I was literally walking the path without any safety net. So the idea of enriching Good Friday with natives and creating that bond, and then Danny giving me this suitcase with a deceased woman's treasures, and me making art from that. And then in between there, I saw Margie, and I said, do you want to come see my Ghost Dragon pirate ship? And she did. And I think when you do accept the invitation to see somebody's Ghost Dragon pirate ship, it's going to change you. And so the idea that her death is opening all these channels in the other realm. And my Instagram posts are just, saving the world, Jesus, saving the world, beware this and what's going on here, and all this magic that is just erupting in my Sangre de Cristo mountains, Blood of Christ mountains. And you can see on my posts, like hashtag Jesus Christ Superstar. It feels like Jesus is coming through very, very, very strongly for me at this time, with the planets at the galactic center in the ecliptic line. I mean, it's just like something huge is getting ready to be born. And because I anchor in the stories from the ancestors, the stories from the gods, the stories from the writer, the stories from whoever is putting all these ideas in my head of what's potentially happening, and then I walk them, and then it anchors it into the earth in a very new magical way. And so during this Margie experience, where right after I realized that Margie had died, and my friend Karen and I just all of a sudden saw each other that next day on Saturday. And we haven't seen each other for 40 days. 40 days and 40 nights. And she said, I have something for you. I have two things for you. And she was getting ready to go on this epic, 1 week road trip in her new fixer-upper van, sleeper van. And she gave me two things. One was the dragonfly, a deceased dragonfly that she had found on the 1111 portal right near her van. And then the other one was this small cross with blue and red colored stones. And a woman had approached her down at the Santa Cruz gas station and said, would you buy this for $1? that woman looked like Margie. And so Karen, not even knowing any of this, I'm the one that told her that it was Margie, because she had saw the street commotion. And so she just knew that she was to give me the dragonfly and the cross, like, a while ago. And when I was looking at both of them, thinking, okay, now what am I supposed to do with them? And when ultimately I realized that, as is a huge tradition in New Mexico, and probably a lot of places, that where someone dies, all of a sudden kind of like this new memorial erupts, and you'll see it. This is where someone died, and there'll be, maybe lights and flowers that are there all the time. And so I waited a couple days to see if anybody was going to do anything. And on, I think it was the third day, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do a little something. And then post a little something. And 11:11. So here, this 3232 post is being recorded at the time of 11:11. So that's also very cool, because I just seen 11:22. And so what it has generated for the community, this post that I put together and the way that I put things together, this is how magic is coming through me, is through the way that I'm able to blend social media on so many different levels. But the most important one is deep meaning. If it comes from something very meaningful, that is the greatest spark. Everything else just amplifies it. And then, everything, it blends into something where I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. And so the way that what I created on social media to honor and unify my community around our preschool teacher's death is a very Hallmark Christmas kind of story. But it's even more than that, because not only is half of the, so much of the buildings, deserted and vacant, and, some of them are fallen down. It's very ghost towny, a very working ghost town, right at the with this blood of Christ mountains right here with us. So if you're thinking of a setup that really could have an amazing effect on the world, why not it be here? And what I realized when I had made, the post for Margie, was that there was another person in our community, Bill Frankie, who had also died, and I had missed it. And that made me very sad. Even though he had moved away, I think it was in the summertime, and his wife, Margaret, another Margaret, was still cleaning out the house and getting everything in order. I still missed it, and that made me really sad, because he was one of those very bright souls that, you don't know them, but you just can't help but feel like such goodness inside them. And I would have very much wanted to be in there for his memorial. And came to find out this morning, all the wires, all of a sudden everything connects, and you're like, I wonder, because when I had made the post pitching myself, believe in me, invest in me, because it's more than entertainment. In for me, it is a way that the ancestors, through a very strong Jesus connection, are something's happening right now. And it's been happening through me, and I've been documenting it on Instagram. Thank you, Instagram. Happy 3232. And when I realized that the church bells that were ringing in the post I made, champion myself, hey, invest in me. This is like something that could potentially have very far-reaching effects for humanity, right? I mean, really, how far do you want to take it? Because that's how far I take it. That's why I'm doing all this, because I really do feel that the Jesus energy is coming back again. It's resurging again. You know, this part, people think you're crazy. Well, stop and listen, you know, at least keep listening to what I'm saying here. So when I realized that the Bill Frankie's, be frank, my dad's a Frank, the church bells were ringing and I caught it. He was saying to me, yes, I know that this, you know, happened December 7th, but I was preparing you for this moment then by locking in those church bells. And so what I'm recognizing here is two people that I actually felt a really nice connection with. I found out they just died. And now I'm sensing like, wow, I'm feeling like, oh, he's talking to me. And he's saying, yes, invest. People invest because there's something going on. Okay, so now you're like, well, what in the world does that have to do with Mel Gibson? Well, guess what? So 2 years ago, before my world completely shattered, when my husband died suddenly, that Christmas, so that would have been 2022, my kids and my husband and my former husband, but we were still very, we never had a falling out in our hearts. It was I have a book that I put on Instagram, 3 hours long. I was reading it about, at the time I called it Soulmates, Cellmates, Prisoners of Love. And then I read it on the Heaven's Cross, which was March 23rd of 2023. I just read it on Instagram, on a live. And now we're also there's another galactic cross. And Capricorn at 1 degree is at the center. So there's a lot of really important things happening. But if you go back to 2 years ago, which would have been my first official Christmas, I would have been here 1 year. And so because I didn't know how long I would be here. And I wanted to really get the most out of this experience as I could, because this is the most charming town. And if you're looking to listen, to, our mountains are primordial mountains, Precambrian, which means before time. And so if you want to hear without all the static of not only, just people populations, but time, on top of each other. The ley lines right now are expanding in such a way that the harmonics are also, everything's happening very, very quickly. And so because I can be here in Truchas, the fish, the trout, okay, so the nodes, the north and south nodes of Libra, me, South, Aries, my daughter, they're about ready to switch. And the family dynamics that have just been set on fire right now are very dramatic and very intense. And what that has meant for me, the mother, to stand up in a very different, very bold way has, everybody like going, what's she doing? What's she talking about? This is not, and so there is a kind of woman, like a mother reclaiming her own lioness in order to embody the Jesus Christ energy that is coming through at this moment, to anchor it in. So 2 years ago, I was, walking to the post office with these on my ankles. Because like I said, I intended, they're going to know me here. They're going to know I came because I want as much interaction as I can. I want to learn. I want to share, And lo and behold, who was at the post office? Raul Max Trujillo. He played the villain in Mel Gibson's Apocalypto. Black Panther. I'm sorry. I have not watched it. I watched it actually, I watched it before that. And I didn't even know, like right before that, like we all watched it that same year. I don't know if Amazon had it on their Prime or what, but I watched it. My son watched it. My daughter watched it. I think Don even watched it. And like when I watched it, I was like, oh my God, what? I think I was even trying to connect with Mel Gibson, about my life at the time, thinking that there was an overlap then. Well, so he said to me he said, oh, do you know how to do the deer dance? Oh, yeah. No, I just have these. Anyways, he told me about the Christmas Eve fire celebration in Taos. And I was like, okay, because this is how I roll. You follow the clues. You go for where the clues are going. And Holy Mother of God, I have never experienced such an intense, if you see my post now with the sun and the fire and the purification, well, that was in the Taos Pueblo, ancient, right up, I'm getting tingly just talking about, right up against their mountains, which I'm not sure if those are the Sangre de Cristos also, but I mean, holy, holy, holy also. And you just have just torches everywhere. I mean, just like infernos, just if you've never, it was scary in the sense that it was exciting. Or exciting in the sense that it was a good kind of exciting. It was a good kind of scary. Something was going on. And at that time, it was so unearthly for me to, especially on Christmas, right? And I think what was necessary was for the Jesus Christ energy to fulfill its mission. Now, boom, it needed to be purified by folks that knew how to do it. He lives here in Truchas. Raul Max Trujillo. So we have got an actual Apocalypto story happening right now on my 3232 Instagram post. As the nodes switch from Libra to Aries, they go to Pisces and Virgo, the Virgin and the Fish, Mary and Jesus. but they're not two separate characters. They're one. Coming through now, here, through me and through this community. Okay, I think that's all. Blessings to you all on your journey. I swear to God, if Mel Gibson doesn't get hold of me with this, come on, people, rise, take a chance, pursue it. Let this find its way to wherever and whomever. And for those of you that have been on the fence about investing, now is the time. Let yourself be one of the first ones that is believing in this. How far is the story going to go before somebody comes forward? And then it's going to be like, oh yeah, we should have come forward sooner. Think about that this Christmas season. Invest in the future of the world.